A lot happened in the year 1947. Humanity experienced instant photography with the Polaroid camera. The United States broke the sound barrier. Let's not forget that 1947 was the year the Cold War began. It was also the year aliens decided Earth was a good place to start settling. Transcripted from UFO Section 1 documents. These documents were in very poor quality, so please bear with me. From The Oregonian, Thursday, July 7, 1947. Pilot recalls flying discs. Richard Rankin tells of odd aircraft. There were reports of flying pancakes turned up Wednesday, one from a Richard Rankin, brother of the late Tex Rankin, and himself an experienced pilot of more than 7,000 hours of flying time. Richard Rankin, who is recovering from an old back injury received in an automobile accident, came to Portland over the weekend to spend the summer. He saw the flying saucers over Bakersfield, California, June 23, 1947, while lying on the lawn sunbathing. He told the Oregonian. I hesitated to say much about them, Rankin said, until I noticed all the hullabaloo in the papers. I puzzled over their strange shape for a while and finally concluded that they were the Navy's new XF-5U-1 flying pancakes, which are thin and round, with twin propellers and stubby tails. Only one XF-5U-1 built at that time. The Navy and the manufacturer have announced officially that only one such machine was built and that it never left Connecticut. 3 planes were flying high, maybe 8,000 feet, and fairly fast, about 300 to 400 miles per hour. I first counted 10 of them in formation going north. Around 2:15 p.m. they returned on the reverse course heading south, but there were only 7 in the formation. They were not weaving or bobbing in formation, and I couldn't make out the number or location of their propellers, and couldn't distinguish any wings or tails. They appeared almost round. They looked like versions of the Navy's flying pancake. Rankin said. Rankin, who plans to spend the summer here, is now able to resume a little flying for fun, but not commercially. He said. He now operates a string of autocourts, spending his winters in Palm Springs. Now that we have wrapped up the article, let's take a look at what the FBI had to say about Richard's claims. This is the beginning of correspondence between Washington and Richard. I realized that the articles that I wrote were probably the same thing. I was still reluctant to mention this to anyone, thinking that they would probably think I was crazy. After some time I mentioned the incident to the mayor and the Oregonian, a Portland newspaper. At this time I was in Portland for the remainder of the summer. The result of the conversation with the editor of the paper is put forth in the accompanying newspaper article. I fully realize that this is a broad statement in view of the fact that there has been so much publicity put forth in various newspapers all over the country. I am of sound mind in every respect. I am firmly convinced that the saucers I saw were actually some sort of flying machines, although I cannot say from where they came from, or where they were going. I said what I did with no expectations of publicity or monetary gain. Oddly enough, the only redacted portions of the article is the word mayor, although not well at all, and I was able to read between the lines, quite literally. M scribbled OR, anyone with half a brain could determine what the word is, and the position of the contact at the newspaper. I believe with a bit of an educated guess that it was the editor that Richard had been in contact with. The only other items redacted was Richard Rankin's name when signed at the bottom of the file, unless it is a FBI agent's name. This portion includes the first FBI report made of Richard's experience, although all names and addresses have been redacted. It is not Rocket Appliances figuring this one out. Portland, Oregon. July 30, 1947. On July 30, 1947, in Portland, Oregon, an individual, whose name has been redacted from all files in this declassified package of data, was interviewed by this agent and stated his encounter as follows. My name is, redacted, Richard Rankin. I am 47 years old and have flown since I was 19 years old. I first flew an aircraft in 1919. I have flown over all the western parts of the United States many times. and have mapped all of the western parts of the United States during the years before becoming an aviator for United States Forest Service. I am familiar with almost every part of the western United States. During a great part of my life I have done stunt flying for air shows and various other types of aeronautical ambitions. My brother was Tex Rankin, redacted, who was quite well known in both civilian and military flying circles for many years before his death. During the war I ran thousands of flying cadets through primary training schools owned and operated by the military. To date I have accomplished 7,000 hours in the air as a pilot in both civilian and military aircraft. Our first clue to the identity of the redacted name Richard Rankin. I am well acquainted with most aircraft that one normally sees in the air. I feel that I am well qualified to identify what a normal aircraft is. I would not attempt to claim I am an expert and could identify every aircraft or object flying through our skies. The following is an account of what I saw in June 1947 from the yard of my home at, redacted, Bakersfield, California, our second clue to the redacted identities. At approximately 1200 noon on the 23rd of June. I was lying in the front yard of my home. There was a lad mowing the lawn at the time. I looked up into the sky and saw 10 objects flying through the south to the north at what I could judge to be around 8,500 feet. The objects were flying at approximately what I would judge to be 350 miles per hour. As I have stated before, I have done a lot of pilot work for the United States Forest Service. I distinctly remember at the time I saw the objects, I mentioned it to the lad who was mowing the lawn at the time. I told the lad that the objects were in all probability just some sort of Army or Navy test planes from the nearby test bases in the deserts of Southern California. Having quite a knowledge of aircraft, I attempted to explain to the lad mowing the lawn that the objects were probably on some sort of training mission for either the Army or Navy. At that time I did not give the slightest thought to anything but that the objects were some of test ship for the government services. The objects resembled the pictures I had seen of the new so-called flying pancake aircraft the Navy had just built and was actively testing. Hold on one bloody well second, it was never tested in California as we learned in the first part of this video. Okay, back to the file. After the objects disappeared from view I proceeded into the house and had lunch at around 12:15. I went back into the yard to lie in the shade. At this time the objects reappeared going north to south, although this time there were only 7 objects in a Y formation with the object in the rear seeming to struggle to keep the UFO in the air. I assumed the other 3 craft had landed at other bases on the other side of the mountains. So later when I read of UFO sightings from Bakersfield residents claiming to see these objects flying right over the city. That's when I knew this was no test flight. Headquarters 4th Air Force. Office of the Assistant Chief of Staff, A2. Hamilton Field, California. For AFD. S35.5 ID. 4th of August 1947. Subject: Investigation of flying discs. To the Special Agent in Charge, FBI, United States Department of Justice, Suite for 26 Sutter Street, San Francisco, California. Enclosed here within is information copy of MOIC and the newspaper clipping following the subject. Signed by William R. Graham, Major, Air Corps, Deputy AO of SA-2. Now we will dive into the actual article posted by the Oregonian on July 5, 1947. So let's get deeper into this crazy encounter and meet some more of the reputable faces that also experienced this otherworldly event. From the Oregon Journal. July 5, 1947, Portland, Oregon. Planes and cars spot discs in the sky here. Whatever they are, there are some disc-like objects flying around in the sky, said Portland area policemen and deputy sheriffs who sighted the objects Friday. Numerous private citizens. The crew of an aircraft reported there were discs flying over Boise, Idaho, and a Coast Guardsman who claims to have photographed one near Seattle. Are they all wrong? In Portland, the alert was sounded over police radio at 1:06 p.m. Friday. after the East Side station received a score of calls about the discs were overhead. Within seconds, 2 police cars reported spotting the mysterious crafts. Flashes seen, noise lacking. First to report in were Robert Ellis. And no matter how hard I tried, I could not figure out the name of the second man. They had stopped near Lake Park. Both were World War II veterans and civilian pilots. They sighted 3 of the objects within 30 seconds, traveling at great height and speed over the park. They reported they heard no engine noises, but they seen flashes. The objects seemed erratic and changed direction of flight. The patrolmen agreed that without knowledge of the size of the objects it would be impossible to judge their speeds or altitudes. Patrolman Carl Petterson in car number 13 stopped at Southeast 82 Avenue and Foster Road to look eastward, from where the discs were reported. Telephone calls located them pouring out of the sun. That does not sound right, but I am pretty damn sure that is what it says. He saw nothing, but a few seconds later he observed one coming from the west and heading southwest. The craft seemed to be metallic, a dull white, and did not flash or reflect light, he said. Objects unidentified. A former Air Corps veteran, he said the object was unlike any plane he had ever seen. He thought it appeared radio-controlled because the disc could change direction at a 90-degree angle without difficulty. Members of the Harbor Patrol at the foot of Irving Street stepped out when they heard all-car alert. Captain K.A. Pran, harbor pilot, A.R. Austin patrolman K.C. Jeff all saw the objects and said they appeared to be going south high over the globe mills at terrific speed. Captain Pran said the flashes kept them from ascertaining whether there were 3 or 6. The disc would oscillate and sometimes we would see the full disc, then a half-moon shape, then nothing at all, he reported. The objects looked more like a shiny chromium hubcap off a car which wobbled, disappeared, and reappeared. If there was a plane in the sky at the time, then we didn't see it. They were all emphatic that the discs were not planes. Unidentifiable objects. Williams Field, Chandler, Arizona. Memorandum for the officer in charge. On the 8th of July 1947, this agent obtained pictures of unidentified objects, Exhibits 1 and 2, from the managing editor. Republic newspaper. The pictures were taken by Mr. Williams Rhodes of 4333 H 4th Street, Phoenix, Arizona, at sunset while subject objects flew, at unconceivable speeds, in the vicinity of Rhodes' home. The pictures were taken with a box camera, size 620. The photograph Exhibit 1 was taken when the object passed in front of Mr. Rhodes, and Exhibit 2 was when the object turned towards Mr. Rhodes. The height of the object was estimated at 1,000 feet. Agent's notes: see Exhibits 1 and 2, photographs of unidentifiable objects, enlarged approximately 20 times. No further reports have been received by this office by military personnel. Unidentifiable. Lindsay Aldrich, Special Agent, EICAF-FDTRC. With so many police and military personnel being witness to this, it's hard to not put your trust into their stories. We will pick up where we left off in Episode 2 of the 1947, The Year the Aliens Settled series. Please remember to subscribe and hit that like button if you enjoy this type of educational content. These videos take roughly 2 to 3 days to produce, so hit that notification bell so all the future episodes get sent right to your phone.